Welcome to Notable Approvals. I'm attorney Amanda Shaffer. Before we get to our case today, if you missed it last night, myself and attorney Hashi Richards did a live on marriage and the immigration law called For Better or For Worse. It's up on our Facebook page. We invite you to check out the replay. And like us and follow us so you don't miss out on Thursday, this Thursday, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be premiering another new series called Lawyers Without Filters, where myself, five other attorneys, and our special guest, Clementine Deseu, who is a model and co-founder and founder of All Women's Project, will be discussing image and in the digital marketing age. So we hope that you all can join us there. Today's case is for a client we've had for a very long time. And I'm going to talk a little bit, as you can see, the banner says we're talking about I-751s, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about what happened before the I-751, because in my mind, there's two main things that make this case notable. One, the I-751 was approved in 11 months. We'll get to that in a second. And two, there were a few hiccups that we had to deal with in their case. So the client, he is a native and citizen of Ivory Coast. He entered the U.S. in 1995 with a B2 visa, and he did not have the visa anymore, so we had to apply for a replacement with the form I-102. So if you're wondering, yes, their records do go that far back. We were able to get it. He married a naturalized U.S. citizen who is a native of France, and this is where one of the hiccups came in. They both were previously married, which is perfectly fine, and divorced, perfectly fine. My client's wife had filed previously for her spouse for a green card, and my client's ex-wife had filed for him previously for a green card. So we had two separate extra filings. One was in 2005, one was in 2006, before these two were ever dating. Both were denied. And the reason that becomes a little bit of a hiccup is because you have to, depending on what happened in that first filing, if there's a fraud finding, then you're in bigger trouble. It might not be an issue at all, but there's always going to be slightly more doubt on the part of USCIS. So you have to try slightly harder to explain to them, look, that yes, I previously filed, that one wasn't fake, nor is this one. There was a lot of time in between the divorces and the new marriage, which can also be a red flag that USCIS looks for. But whenever you have those previous filings based on an old marriage, we definitely have to take a look at those very closely to make sure we're not going to have problems or anticipate and respond to any problems that may come about. And then the other issue is we got a request for evidence for this one. And when we do the filing from scratch, we rarely get requests for evidence because we make sure that everything that is needed is filed with the initial applications. The reason it happened in this case is because his wife, it was her employment situation. She got her income from three main streams of income: rental property, Social Security benefits, because I think she's over the age of 65, and a pension fund. And we put all that documentation in. But we also got a joint sponsor because we know that when you don't have a W-2 or a 1099, it can confuse USCIS, and we want to make this as easy as possible. But I will also say that we don't like to send extra things to USCIS. So we were on the fence with this one. Do we just submit the petitioner stuff, which was sufficient income altogether, and hope they understand what this is? Or do we throw in a joint sponsor just in case? Well, this one we threw in the joint sponsor, and they sent the request for evidence for more information still on the wife's income, and said we didn't submit a joint sponsor, which we did. So we gave them another copy of it. And then that was no longer an issue. So in December of 2017, our client received a conditional green card. And then he timely filed with his wife a joint I-751 petition to remove conditions on his residency last December. And I will say, when I submit the packages and I look at all the evidence in there, I always kind of have a feeling if there's going to be an interview or not, despite them saying everyone's going to be interviewed. the only chance you have of not being interviewed is to submit a lot of evidence. And this wasn't one of those cases where I felt like there was an overwhelming amount of evidence. Like we did have some good joint finances, like cable bill, Con Ed bill, joint checking and savings, a life insurance policy naming the other, but we actually only had a couple months of each. And I was a little worried about it, but I assumed they would have an interview and they'd bring more. I knew that, everything, they were very much a real couple. I wasn't worried about that. But if you would have asked me when I filed this thing, what are the chances these people are going to have an interview, I would say it's pretty high. So I was pleasantly surprised this week when we received his approval notice in less than 11 months. And anyone watching this who has filed an I-751 and who's waiting for over 18 months now are probably looking at me like, how did that happen? I wish I knew so I could do all my clients that fast, but they must have saw something they liked and they approved it, didn't call him in for an interview, which is fantastic. And the best part for my client, he's already eligible to apply for naturalization. His eligibility just started that period. So I do believe he intends to do that. And we're very excited for him and his wife, especially. It's always a relief not to have to go through that interview process again, because it is a pretty stressful process. So that is all today for notable approvals. Again, set your reminders, like us, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, so you don't miss any more of our lives. I'll be back tomorrow with another notable approval, and this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Lawyers Without Filters, episode 1 on image. It's going to be completely different than what you see here right now, but we're going to be talking about some image issues and social media and digital marketing, and it'll be a great time for all, so we hope you can join us. And if you have any problems with your marriage-based green card or your I-751, contact information has been scrolling across the bottom of your screen. We're here for you. Give us a call today.